I have been podcasting since October 2004, so clearly you should listen to me. But I'm also an old white guy. In the future, maybe you'll stop listening to me. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. This is it. It's the wrap of the 10 future predictions of podcasting I first made in the inaugural print edition of Podcast Business Journal. Today's all about people who look a lot like me. Because as I said in the magazine, number 10, in the future, old white men will become less relevant. At least as in podcasting and hopefully everything else in the world as well. So yeah, I've been at this a long time. And I was born a white man. So that doesn't invalidate my voice. However, I am wary, as you should be wary, of the argumentum ad antiquum. And my Latin is terrible. But basically, that is the argument of antiquity, the fallacy of that, saying that if it's old, it must be good. Well, sure, I've been doing this a long time, so clearly my advice must be great. And it is, I assure you, he said, as an old white guy. But, yeah, we did some great things with a lot less tools than we have available today. We established some wonderful processes and practices that have made sense for the last 15 years. But, at some point in time, those experiences and processes are going to get in the way. And I've talked about this on prior episodes, where just because we've done something a long time, not only does it not mean it's always the right way, but it actively gets involved and gets in the way of advancing podcasting. Because when we're establishing processes and procedures, those tend to get hard to change. Now, as I said in the article, nature has a way of rectifying this problem on its own. However, rather than just simply dying off, I think you can stop giving so much attention to people who look a lot like me a lot earlier in the process. And the reality is this: there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of valid voices full of great ideas and concept who are neither of the things I am, none of the three things I am. They're not old, they're not white, and they're not men. Now, I'm all three of those things, as I said previously. But that doesn't give me any special, it shouldn't give me any special privilege, even though I know that it does. So what I'm doing, and what I encourage you to do, is actively seek out voices that are not those three things, that are none of those three things, that aren't old, and white, and male. Maybe two, maybe none. You find the right kind of voices for you, because podcasting has already matriculated people with amazing skills, some of which have only been doing this for a year or so. Many have been doing it for just as long as I have, or almost as long as I have, just don't happen to share the same dangly bits as me. So my job, to make sure that I stay relevant as much as I can, is I try to incorporate as many of these different voices. But I'll tell you what, if I'm honest, it's really rough for me. I can find the female voices. That's not a problem, because there have been females in this batch since I have been doing that. People like Murr Lafferty, people like Mignon Fogarty, people like, that's just a handful. That's just two. There's so many more. I know them, and that makes it easier for me. Where I struggle, and I'm being honest and open here, where I struggle is going beyond that, trying to find the other voices. And I know that they exist. And so it's my job to actively go out and seek other voices of people who don't look exactly like me. And I encourage you to do the exact same thing. Now, how you do that, I don't know. That's a tough thing to do. It's not like when you go search your various podcast applications that it's the search bar. We know search in podcasting sucks as it is. How do you search for non-old white men voices in podcasting? It's not easy, but it's also not hard. There are plenty of other lists out there, plenty of people who are communicating and conversing. The biggest thing I'm doing right now is I'm attending more conferences. I'm going out and I'm trying to get to know some of the speakers, some of the producers, some of the people who are talking to these groups and listening to what they have to say. I am purposely avoiding my friends. Yep, when I go to these conferences, I purposely avoid my friends who've been doing this every bit as long as I have, who are also old white dudes. I'm not going to their sessions. Instead, I'm going to different sessions so I can actively hear different voices. Because I think that's important. I know that's important as we propel podcasting forward. It can't always be about people that look like me. And in fact, it's not always about people that look like me. However, we certainly have the lion's share of the voice. And I'm trying to actively stop that. No, that doesn't mean I'm stopping doing podcast pontifications. I mean, I still have a voice. It's still valid. You should still listen and tell all of your friends to listen. But I can't be it. I need you to try and find other people who don't look like me. Maybe don't look like you. Maybe they do look like you. I don't know. It depends on who you actually are. Even if they do, even if you are a minority in a group, you should seek out other different minorities, not just one to rule them all. There's variety of people and voices with valid opinions, which have different needs and different concerns and see things from a totally different angle. And I'm really working hard to try and add more of those voices into my world in podcasting, as well as everywhere else in life. So rather than get preachy and soapboxy, which I'm afraid I'm already winding down that road, I'm just going to end it here and say thank you very much for listening to me, but pretty please with sugar on it. Go find other voices to listen to as well. Now, I hope that you enjoyed these 10 future predictions of podcasting. I hope that last one and all of them actually come true, and I think they will on a long enough time scale. 3 things before I go. If you would like to continue the conversation and tell me the voices that you are listening to, please do that. In fact, tell everybody about that. You can comment right here, or you can go to flick.group/podcast pontifications and leave some comments there. We've got around 40-ish or so people that are participating in this Flick group just for us, which is great. If you would like to still buy an old man a coffee, go for it. buymeacoffee.com/evoterra is one way to show your support. And of course, if you are in business and need help with your podcasting, hey, that's what I do. Get in touch with me, evo@podcastlaunch.pro. Go to podcastlaunch.pro for a list of all the services we offer clients, and I shall be back tomorrow with yet another Podcast Pontifications. Cheers!